A healthy culture is a winning culture. What is it about winning that makes it so great? It's enjoyable and effective. Think about those best sports teams, work groups, volunteer projects. They're so great because you have fun and you do what you set out to do. Let's talk about how we build that into our work culture right now. Welcome to the Lead Well podcast, where we give mission-driven leaders principled and practical advice so you can do just that, lead well. I'm your host, John Kidwell, and every week we get to talk to you about leadership and answer your questions. But before we do that in this episode, I got to tell you what's going on and why. If you're watching it online, you're going to notice that I look different in part of this episode. Here's the thing. We recorded episode 6, and we record them straight through. What we realized were two things. Number one, the video was not as good as it needed to be. And number two, ironically, in our episode about effectiveness, it wasn't as effective as we want it to be. So we went back and we re-recorded this content portion. So if you're listening via podcast, you're not really going to notice anything. Maybe the audio will change just a little bit, but if you're watching online, you will see I have a haircut and a different shirt from a different part of this episode. So enjoy. And just know that we are working diligently to bring you the best content and episodes that we can every single week. And actually being able to tell you all this because of the community that we have and the leaders that you are actually ties back into the last episode. We started this series on culture, part 1, talking about safety, where we feel safe to make mistakes, to be dignified, and to be vulnerable. And I get to do that because of you all. And you get to turn around and make sure inside of your organizations that it is safe so that when it is challenging, people can step into that. If you haven't yet listened to episode 5, go listen to that one and then come back because it is a building block. For places to be enjoyable, they first need to be safe. And for places to remain enjoyable, they need to be effective. And that's what we're doing today, is bringing all of those together. So let's dive into first of our 2 pieces of safe, enjoyable, and effective. Before we do, I just want to refresh and remind all of us about that definition of a healthy culture that we use, that we teach, that we believe. Healthy cultures are the values, the beliefs, and the behaviors that promote the health and the achievement of the people, the place, and the purpose. We want it to be a win, win, win. It can be. It doesn't have to be a win-lose. Winning cultures are not necessarily competition cultures for anyone inside. It's that we're competing against the same problems. So let's dive into how we make enjoyable cultures where we are and what we can do as leaders. Enjoyable cultures are where people do work that they love, that they are good at, with people that they like. Let me say that one more time. Enjoyable cultures are where people do work that they love, that they are good at, with people that they like. Doing work that you love is so critical. If you're not loving what you're doing, you are not going to find joy in it. You might get happy about it every now and then because you succeed, but that joy that just bubbles up and is always constantly there because you know that you are doing work that matters. If that is not present, you will not enjoy what's going on, and it will trickle into the culture at work. So as leaders, what does this influence? What does this tell us that we need to do? This drives home why checking for mission, vision, and values alignment when we hire folks, as we onboard our team, and when we communicate, constantly putting these things back in, talking about why the work that we do matters. It influences us to pay attention to those. So when we hire and when we onboard, we spend a tremendous amount of time making sure that the people that are coming in to do the same work with the same passion for the same reasons that we're doing it. That they believe what we believe in those values, because we do want it to be a place where they are healthy and they achieve, and it aligns with who they are and how they are. Viktor Frankl tells us in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that we as people, we need a meaningful project or a meaningful work that we are going towards so that we feel meaning in life. And we do a whole lot of work. Think about your day. Think about your life. A lot of it is spent working. We need to help people connect that meaningful connection to the work that they're doing, but also we need to make sure that we find folks that are aligned with us so that they can come along and do that. So after we connect and make sure that we remind people about it, we hire for it, we train to it, that we're doing work that we love, we want people to be doing work that they are good at. Two of my absolute favorite assessments are StrengthsFinders and the Working Genius. And there are tremendous amounts more that you could go find, but it really shows us the power of being able to do work that we are good at. Think about some of those things that you are not good at. I am not good at our administration. I am not good at setting up the podcast studio. I get very, very frustrated doing that. Things that I'm better at: communicating, going and doing trainings, writing content, talking to people. Those are things that fuel me, that are in my strengths and inside of my Working Genius. I love relating with people and helping people do something that they might not otherwise do. Responding to emails, checking the boxes on the finances and the administration, setting up all of this wonderful video and lighting. Not my favorite, not my gifting. I get very frustrated. You can ask producer Matthew whenever you want to see how frustrated I get. He'll tell you all the hilarious stories. We want to help people be able to do the work that they are good at. This is why those cliches about getting the right people on the right seat, on the right bus are there. So how can we do this? Well, one, we can do assessments. We can do StrengthsFinders. We can do Working Genius, and we can help people identify what is their best work, what are their strengths, and how they might be able to bring those to work. Number two, we can have coffee. We can sit down with people. We can talk, check in, whether it's through your one-on-one or through an informal. Hey, how are you doing? Are you having fun at work? Do you feel like the work that you're doing is something that you're really good at? Or are you feeling frustrated by some of this role? Connecting people into the job assignment that they are gifted at will bring joy for them, because they're doing something that they are caring about, doing work that they love, and that they are good at. And we want to be able to bring those things together so that they enjoy the work that they're doing. And once we have work that we love, that it is meaningful to us, that we are able to contribute through our strengths, we want to make sure that we are connected to the people that are doing it with us, right? Do work that you love, that you are good at, with people that you like. This is naturally going to happen if we get a whole bunch of people that care about the same thing, have the same values. We have a wonderful foundation, and as leaders, we get to curate that through our hiring, through our onboarding, through our communication. The next piece is actually turning around and building in meaningful connections and experiences, not just for the sake of benefits, but for the sake of fun and productivity at work. Because if people don't have any play at work, they are not going to stay at work. They will leave. We need it to be fun as well. So this is the all-inclusives where you all go out. This is the happy hours. This is the birthday parties, the break rooms. This is also encouraging people to go have lunches or to go sit in other people's office to talk about work, but to talk about life and what's going on with their family. When we are able to do things that we really care about, that we know that we're good at, with people that we enjoy, we are going to enjoy, and it is actually going to make us even more effective. And that brings us to our last sign: safe, enjoyable, and effective. Cultures that are effective achieve the goals and the objectives that they set out to do to move the work forward. We got to advance the work. Quick story that combines enjoyable and effective. So I'm riding in an Uber with this guy named Dominic, and he was a great driver, and he used to be a leader. And y'all, if you ever want some of the best workplace culture and leadership talk, go talk to your Uber drivers, because they usually are driving Uber because of something that they did not enjoy or that they didn't find effective about work. So let me tell you about Dominic. Dominic was a leader at a pharmaceutical production company. So they produced medicine, right? And they were a high-performing team. He had very high retention, and they had really high production. They had fun with each other, but they also had targets. They reviewed those targets every single day, and they worked towards those. Here's what happened. They had a bad batch. It tested poorly. They actually had to pull it because something was off in the chemistry, in the bottling, and whatever it was. And I'm so grateful that they did. I love the fact that they have to take everything down. They actually shut the entire facility down, clean sweeped it, and they spent 3 months trying to make sure that this was never going to happen again. Here's what happened to Dominic's team. They were told, you still have to come to work. You're just going to do it in the break room. You can read the safety manuals. You guys can play cards. You can do this. You need to be here for your 8 hours a day, but you don't get to do any actual work. Do you know what happened in this team that was high performing, had high retention, and really enjoyed each other in the work that they did? They all left. High performers that are not performing highly are going to go elsewhere. If it is not effective, it will not remain enjoyable, and eventually we will leave. We will go find places that we can be effective, that we can use our strengths, and that we can achieve what we set out to achieve. So, some of the ways that we as leaders can make sure that it is effective. Number one, we need targets and goals. Targets and goals that show us that we are advancing towards that which we are trying to achieve. We say that leadership is influencing others toward a shared purpose, and goals and targets are a tremendous way, one, to motivate us and to get us going, and two, to give us the feedback that we need that we are actually making a difference. If we don't have clear goals and clear targets, we don't actually know if we're achieving what we set out to do. Did we reach the top of that hill? Did we take that mountain? I don't know. I know that I came in, I did what I needed to do for 8, 9, 10 hours, 6 hours, whatever your work schedule is, and then I left. Without those goals and those targets, I don't know if I am being effective. So goals and targets actually help us move forward and know that we are effective at doing it. Once we have those goals and targets, the next piece about being effective is we actually need to hold people accountable to those. And you probably had it just like I did. Like my shoulders started to go up. I get the little tinglies. Like either one, I don't like holding people accountable, or two, you're like, yeah, right on. Let's do it. So here's the thing. Holding people accountable, as I have learned throughout the years, is actually a wonderful kind of collaborative gift where, if we really think about it, I have values, behaviors, performance that I want to hit. So do you. And if I'm not doing that long enough, I do start to feel ineffective and like I am not who I am or not doing what I set out to do. Accountability really keeps possible what is possible, and it allows me to feel good about it. And as leaders, that's what we want to be able to do in our organizations and with our teams, is we want to keep possible what's possible. We want to advance that work, but we also want our teams to be able to take pride in doing this work. So accountability really is just holding to an account of what we have already agreed on. If we have the mission, the vision, the values, the targets, now it's just a conversation about what we've already talked about. Perhaps it's feedback that says we need to get a little bit better in this area. What we've been doing is not good enough. Perhaps it's a conversation around what do you need? Maybe we got to decrease all of the priorities that you have. You have 27 million goals. Let's boil it down. But our role as leaders is to have the conversation, to step in with courage, to hold people to an account so that as a whole, we can be effective, and so that as individuals, we can be effective and feel good about the work that we are doing. And lastly, you've heard me talk about it through those about targets and about accountability, but it really is about feedback. When we have a culture of feedback, positive and negative, it actually influences my effectiveness. Here's how. Positive feedback, when you specifically tell me that was a great customer service experience, that was a wonderful sales call. You know that project that you've just been working on for 6 months? The way that you balanced the budget, you organized the people, and you delivered on time, that was amazing. Well done. That positive feedback influences me to be even more effective in the future, because now I know what is effective, and I feel so good and encouraged and validated about what it was. I actually want to go do more because I'm doing work that I love. And that negative feedback, listen, I don't like it either. It's a hard pill to swallow oftentimes. But what I learned is that if we reframe feedback for what it is, instead of somebody critiquing, it's actually somebody giving me a gift. And I want that. I want gifts. You probably want gifts too. But when we reframe it that way as leaders for ourselves and for our team, then what it becomes is us showing that we care and have courage enough to help somebody else achieve something at the level that they want to achieve, so that they feel good about the work that they do because they care about it, and that they get that feeling of accomplishment because they've hit the targets and have been held accountable to that which they already said that they want to do. All of these things combined, safe, enjoyable, and effective, are signs of a healthy culture. And there are some practical tips that you can take and put in at your workplace. And for you as leaders, as you're building your culture and you're working on that healthy culture to be a winning culture, I want you to remember this. If it is not safe, it will never be enjoyable. And it is not effective, it will not remain enjoyable. Say it one more time. If the culture is not safe, it will never be enjoyable. And if we're not effective, it will not remain enjoyable. So I want you to see what is out there and take these signs, safe, enjoyable, effective, so that you can implement a healthy culture so that you and your team can win, feel good, have fun, and enjoy doing it. Hey, friends, if you haven't yet already done this, please go subscribe, follow, click those little bell icons wherever you are listening to this so that you stay engaged and tuned in to what we have going on. I look forward to seeing you, hearing from you, getting emails from you every single week. So please stay engaged so we can stay connected. And if you would, if you're thinking about, I got someone in my network who would value this, who could use this, maybe it's a team that I lead, click that little share button and send it to them and say, hey, check this out. That would mean the world to us. It also helps us get the show in front of other mission-driven leaders just like you. We're going to dive into our question and answer time with producer Matthew here. But if you have a question that you want to send us, maybe it's about culture. Maybe it's about a problem that you're facing with your team. Maybe it's about how do I grow somebody that I see potential in. Send your question to podcast@leadwell.com or leave a voicemail or text me at 832-895-1253. Producer Matthew, you've got questions for us. What do you have for us today, my friend?
Yeah, we've got some good ones. And this first one is going to probably have a different answer, no doubt, depending on the type of culture that it's being asked in. But what would you consider before promoting someone?
I'm going to answer for myself. I've had the privilege of promoting a lot of people. I've also had the honor of being promoted or kind of being in and around that. So what do I consider when I promote someone is how I heard that question. And first and foremost, are they an individual that I can trust? Do I trust them? I think without that, it's really hard to then do what I want to do with that promotion, is to give them responsibility. And so first and foremost, do I trust the person? Secondly, is that do they want it? That would be good. Not all of us always want to be promoted. We want to be excellent in where we are and not promote. So do they want it? And then the third one is, do they have what it takes? If I can trust them and they want it, do they have what it takes? And I don't mean like 100% they get to slip in and knock it out of the park. Like there's a learning curve and a growth curve with all of us every single day, every single show that we record here, every single time that I show up to work, that you show up to work. There's a learning and a growth curve in there. And we're constantly kind of pushing it further for improvement. But do they have what it takes to fulfill the responsibilities of the role? Do I trust them? Do they want it? And do they have the potential to fill the responsibilities of the role? And if I see those three things, I would look at promoting them. And I think probably maybe Matthew, the one last piece that probably deserves to be in there is, have they shown competence in what they've already done? That probably needs to be squeezed in there in between like potential for the role. And that is, are they successful where they are? If they're not successful where they are, you kind of got to prove that. I guess maybe that's even the permission to get promoted is, are you successful where you are? Do I trust you? Do you want it? And do I think that you can fulfill the responsibilities of the role? That was a good one. Thanks, man. What else do we got?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. The next one would be, and we've had this discussed before with some of our groups, how does one generate great ideas in their organization?
That's a great idea generating question. Matthew, what do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways to do that, and it's going to fit into the culture piece that
For
you've been
sure.
discussing
Yeah.
on what's acceptable, and has it been made an open space for people, a trusting
Yeah.
space, a safe space.
That's great, man. I'm also doing it and smiling over here because I would ask that question. What do you think as a way to generate ideas? And what Matthew, right? What you said was spot on. Like if it's not safe, I'm not going to bring any ideas. But at the same time, am I inviting ideas? So here's the really, it's such a simple one, but I'm being serious about asking, what do you think? Think about this when you go and do your meetings and what questions you ask when you say something. Sometimes I say, is there anything else? Now, you and I just heard that, and we know that I'm not actually asking if there's anything else. I'm closing it off, right? Is there anything else? No? Okay, great. I mean, that's how all of us respond in any sort of meeting that we're in. But if I do this, if we go through and I go, what else is there? Now, all of a sudden, I have opened it up for everybody else to contribute. And so I think about a great way to generate ideas is by being extremely curious and asking a lot of questions, and a lot of questions that drive towards people contributing, not just permission to move on. All right. I think we have time for another one. What do we have?
We do. We've got a quick one. This one's for you and
Okay.
about you.
The last ones weren't, right?
Yeah, no, they weren't. They weren't for you.
Okay. What do you got?
So you've talked before about how important rest is and how it gives you energy to then show up when you need to.
Yeah.
What is your favorite way to rest and relax?
Ooh, that's a good one. What is my favorite way to rest and to relax? I enjoy going to bed at night. So getting a great night's sleep, I think, is a wonderful one. And, you know, sometimes it's a challenge. We got 3 kiddos. Like there's grace in different seasons. But I target, and if you know me, that I'm shooting for 7 or 8 hours a night, which is a great thing. So I think there's that. But I don't think it's just sleeping, although I feel that a lot having kiddos, 3 of them under the age of 7. But I think beyond that, relaxation and rest is both an active and an inactive thing. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that sometimes that I rest, I'm actually active. I'm going on a walk with my family, or I'm going on a hike, or I'm going fishing with some friends, or we're on a bike ride, or I'm playing on the playground with my kids. Like that is actually rest as well. It's a rejuvenating rest. And I love doing all of those things. Some ways that I relax: every Friday night, my wife and I have a date night where we sit in our living room after the kids are to bed, and we sit there and we just talk over, usually it's sushi, but we sit there and talk, and that is a great rest, which turns into a reset and a connection time for me. Another thing, I also enjoy movies. I try to limit how much I do that, because I can find myself kind of spinning too much into that where it's not actually restful. I just kind of get sucked in, but catching a movie every now and then, whether it's in the big screen with my buddies or with Megan, those are great ones too. So sleeping, doing some like play, some activity, some things that rejuvenate me, spending quality time with my wife, and catching some movies every now and then are some of the ways that I relax. And so I think everybody should hit us up on social media and tell us how they rest, because we're huge fans of work hard, rest well. We think that allows us to lead on, like be on when we lead. It also means that we get to lead on and push further, because if you're not rested, you're not going to keep going. And so I want to hear from you on social media, whether it's Instagram, YouTube comments, LinkedIn. Tell me, what are some of the ways that you rest and relax and rejuvenate so that you can continue to lead on? And with that, my friends, I wish that you are well, that you continue to lead on, and I pray that God blesses you in what you do. Take care.